Hey, is this thing on? Lance, Nick, ready? Can you hear me? Welcome to the Live Free and Hunt podcast.
What is up, everyone? We just want to thank you for all the positive feedback we've been getting from this podcast. If you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, or even Podbean and YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. That would help us out a lot. Follow us along on Instagram and Facebook, and check out what we got going on. We're going to have some good media this year, and we just appreciate all the support from you all. Thanks again, everyone.
Alrighty then. Live Free and Hunt podcast, episode number 5, coming at you hot. It's Friday night, almost 6:30. Steve isn't here yet, but he will be here soon. The guy's name is Steve Champa. If you haven't heard of him, look him up. He's going to kill some birds, and he has killed some birds. Let's get it.
Like a bad deck of cards that loves to lose. You don't listen to me, and I don't want you to, 'cause we sure have fun throwing my money away. You bet high, I bet low. You're all in and I'm all broke. Another paycheck down the drain.
All right, we are all set.
I'm going to slap this table so we can get a woohoo on the camera.
Yeah.
We're live! We're not live. All right, here we go. We got Steve Champa in the house.
That's how you say your last name, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're going to talk about some turkey hunting.
But I guess we can hear first how you grew up into hunting, or you just started hunting in teens, or whatever.
Yeah, I actually started. I went out with my dad and my uncle a lot of times when I was younger. We have a camp actually up in Denmark, Maine, and my grandfather was big into hunting, and my dad and uncles, I mean, they were weekend warriors. They're gonna hate me for saying that, but they are.
They all are.
And
that's how everybody grew up.
And, yeah, exactly. And when I first stepped in the woods, I instantly fell in love. You know, there was no doubt about it. This was my forever passion, and you know, I wanted to try to get out anytime possible, whenever, wherever, and we deer hunted, me, my dad, my uncle. Didn't get anything, you know, very green at it, and that spring, I was like, you know what? I want to get into turkey hunting. So me and my dad, we did minimal research, very similar to Kevin's situation. You know,
Yeah.
We had just little knowledge, little time, and we're like, let's try to make the best of it. And my dad actually worked with a guy that had a private farm close to our house, so we had permission to hunt that, which was awesome. There was birds there, and it was entertainment every morning we were there.
At least you get to see them.
Yeah, exactly. So this story kind of helps with how I hunt today. Me and my dad, we were sitting there one day, and it started pouring out while we were sitting there, and we had a decoy out in the field, and I had a shitty slate call, and I was like, I can try to make this thing work, you know. So like I could call a little bit, and my dad's like, he's like, we had a bird gobbling behind us, and the call just stopped working because it was so wet, and I was like, I just got aggravated with it. I threw it off to the side, and you know, the silence actually of being quiet, not communicating with the bird, actually drew him in. And we were sitting there, and literally right behind us, I remember looking at my dad, and my dad looking at me, and I had the gun, and my dad was, you know, he's like, they're coming right out. And a bearded hen walked out in front of us, and I was like, do I shoot it? And I was like, I can't definitely tell it's a bearded hen. I'm like, I don't, you know, and I can hear a tom gobbling literally 3 to 4 feet behind us. Right, and all of a sudden the tom comes out in the field, and I didn't stop him. I mean, I was young. This was the first turkey I'd ever seen while turkey hunting, and the turkey was kind of walking, and I tried to put a little bit of a lead in front of him, and I shot right over him. I remember seeing the pattern hit the dirt behind him, and he took and he took off, and I took another shot at him as he was running away, and I didn't hit him, and I was literally in tears. I was so aggravated with myself. I was crying. My dad's like, no, it's okay. I was like, no. I'm like, I was very frustrated, and you know, I used to pry my dad. I'd be like, let's go hunting. You know, we finally got into deer hunting a little more, and we bought a muzzleloader. We had one muzzleloader for the two of us, and that same farm, we'd go hunting there, and I'd pry my dad every day after work. Hey, he'd pick me up from the middle school I was at, and he'd pick me up on the side of the road. I'd jump in his truck, and we'd head up to the next exit, and we'd go sit the last hour and a half, 2 hours of the day, and eventually, as I got older, my dad, he was like my chaperone, because you gotta be accompanied by somebody until you're 16, and he was my chaperone up until I was 16. And once I got my driver's license and did my hunter safety and everything, I was off on my own, and it's just been hook, line, and sinker ever since.
Where's Denmark, Maine next to?
It's like Bridgeton, Freiburg, that area.
Okay, yeah.
We still have
That's a camp, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a full blown house. We're right on Moose Pond. Our grandparents left the house to us when they passed, so it's pretty nice property. I mean, we got 2 acres. It's all like the only thing that's not waterfront is the driveway. So we're on the tip of a peninsula. It's beautiful. There's tons of woods up there. There's deer. Summertime you drive the roads, you see tons of deer.
Oh yeah,
it's beautiful up there. I tried turkey hunting up there. Actually, one of those beards over there. I got up there. I was sitting there one night by the bonfire, and I was like, it's the last weekend of Maine turkey season. I wonder if I should buy a license. And I was like, I'm sitting by the bonfire that night, and across the lake, all of a sudden I hear, I'm like, did I just hear that right?
Yeah, there's one over there.
I'm like, it sounds like a bird. And I'm like, I'm usually pretty good at that. So I'm sitting there, and I listen again. If the bird fires off again right before dark, I'm like, I went inside, I bought my license, and I was like, I'm going in the morning. I had all my stuff with me, and I'm like, we're going. And I ended up, I missed a bird that morning, and then I ended up getting a bird later on there. But I started hunting with my neighbors when my dad couldn't go, and I fell into a good atmosphere of guys that were really good mentors, and one of them, he's been turkey hunting since the 80s, and he said, if you would hear one bird gobble in a day, your day was made. He goes, if you he said, if you connected with a bird, you had, you were the talk of the town.
Right.
And he knew Ted Walsky really well, who's the biologist, like he's the turkey man of New Hampshire. And he grew up, he started hunting out by the seacoast, and as the turkeys moved back towards the center of the state, he started following the birds back. But he taught me a big chunk of what I know about turkey hunting, and I mean, I'm forever grateful for that. Right. He was a really good mentor. He taught me a lot about deer hunting too, and it's made me into the hunter I am today. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Talking about when you hear a gobble across the lake, I know you can relate to this.
Yep.
I know you can relate to this. Is like you go out turkey hunting for the day, right?
Yeah.
And you're hearing gobbles, and you come back home, and you're like,
yeah,
is that a gobble out back? I'm pretty sure I heard a gobble.
Yeah. You're laying taking that 1 o'clock nap, and you're like, you're like, no, I didn't just hear that.
No,
and then you fall asleep, and you hear them. You wake up in your sleep from a gobble. I mean,
I hate that.
The amount of naps I've taken.
Or during turkey season at all, you're walking. You think, what was that? It could be a dog barking. I just heard one over there. That one's firing up.
Yeah.
That's gobble fever. That's
100%. You're taking naps in the middle. Like sometimes I'll take naps in the woods, and all of a sudden I'm like, I thought I heard a bird. And
God,
I'm like, go back to sleep.
Right.
So that's generally how I got into hunting. I mean, I'm 25 now, and since I was 12, 13, 14, I've been hunting pretty much every season. Start to end.
You got a lot of birds underneath your belt.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess somewhere around 30.
When did you shoot your first
Holy
bird?
smokes.
Actually,
30 birds?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess 20 to 30. I think I have it written down on my phone somewhere. I shot my first bird on actually senior skip day of my senior year of high school. Me and my best friend, we hunted all season long, and I was still very green, and we were hunting in Goffstown, and we had birds going all the time, and it was like we were just out in the middle of this clear cut that they logged and stumped, and it was like we'd be standing in the middle of it hoping to get birds to come in. We had no idea what we were doing, and finally, we started putting pieces of the puzzle together, and I called the Tom in, and it came in on my buddy's weak side, and he's like, get in front of me and shoot it, and I did, and I missed, and so we kept hunting the rest of the season, and we were up in Laconia area, and we're like, let's it's senior skip day, we're going up there for the long weekend. I'm like, let's bring our turkey hunting stuff. I'm like, we could probably find
just in
There's
case.
some woods up there. There's some nice fields and woods over there.
So my aunt lives in Meredith, right on Meredith Neck, and we were like, let's go look around, see if we can find some birds. So we hunted a couple spots, nothing. I called my aunt. I'm like, hey, can we come try behind your house for turkey? She's like, absolutely. We walked up there, and I called, I think it was 4 or 5 jakes come walking down the hill, and we didn't care at that point.
Oh, yeah, you're taking whatever.
Yeah, we were green as green could be. We were like, any bird that comes in, we're going to shoot. And we had them come in, and we counted to the count of 3, and boom, we doubled up. And it was like, ever since then, it's been birds every year since.
Awesome.
It got me hooked and keeps me going more and more every year.
Now, you are the second record holder of New Hampshire.
Yep. Yeah. In 2017 opening day, my fiance is going to be really mad if I don't tell this story how it is. So, we were going out. We were scouting around at certain spots, and we were out looking, and a friend of ours said that that he knew of a hayfield that was all posted at the time, and I said, hey, can you get me permission to hunt in there? And he was like, yeah, I think I can. So he made a phone call, and he got us permission to hunt in there, and we ended up going there that night. It was the night before turkey season, and we roosted 6 toms. So we're like, all of our other spots have 1 or 2 birds. I'm like,
I think we feel pretty good about
there's
this
6 birds
place.
here. We should be able to make something happen. So me and her go there opening morning, and the birds were just fire. There was jakes and toms all in the trees overlooking this pond, and the birds flew down, and some of them walked up this hill, and I was trying to let her shoot, and there was birds like 30, 35 yards where I would have shot all day, but she didn't feel comfortable taking the shot, and all the birds kind of worked their way out to this hayfield, and then they came back into the woods, and one of them come walking right down the logging road, and if it was 5 yards, if that, in front of her, and I'm telling her to shoot it, and I think the tom saw my mouth moving when I said shoot, or he heard me, whatever it was,
I can't see it.
He took off, and he started to run back up the logging road where he came down, and she couldn't get a shot at him because she's got to be on a rest, and I stuck out around the corner, and as he was running away, I put it on the back of his head, and I rolled him over, and I walked up to him. He flopped into a puddle. He was covered in silt and mud and everything. He looked awful. And I'm like, it was a nice bird. And I flipped him over, and I was like, nice paintbrush beard. And then I was like, oh, wait, there's 2 beards. Oh, wait, there's 3. I was like, oh, awesome, triple beard. I'm like, I've never even shot one of those. I've never even really seen one around
in
here.
New Hampshire.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right.
That's crazy.
So we kept hunting, actually, and probably about 20 minutes later, I ended up calling in a group of jakes. We literally walked back up to like where the truck was, and we walked down the roadway a little bit, and we got behind this dirt pile, and I called in, I think it was 3 or 4 jakes, and I'm like, if you want to shoot one, go ahead. And all of a sudden the gun went off, and I see the jake fall, and I'm like, hey, right on.
Son of a bitch, you did it.
Opening day, we doubled up, and this was the last year this is the second to last year before you could shoot 2 birds. So we were both tagged out opening morning. It was,
awesome.
it was a great feeling. Good picture. I got a picture of the 2 of us with the bird.
Excellent.
With our birds, and so I get home, I dry the bird off, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, this thing has 5 beards. Oh my god. I'm like, wow, this is unreal. So I go to the registry over by our house, which is J. Don's in Nashua, and I'm asking the guy at the counter, is there any trophy bird program? He's like, not that I'm aware of. He's like, I don't really know, though. I don't know much about hunting. And then the local game warden, Sean McFadden, pulled in, and he was like, I'm like, hey, Sean, do you know anything about a trophy bird program? He's like, nope, no idea. So I was like, I just kind of rolled with it. I was like, I was thrilled. And
which is kind of messed up because New Hampshire has the deer program.
Right,
over
absolutely.
200.
Right.
And,
the Antler Club, too. I'm like, why don't they have one for turkeys? But, to me, I was just happy to shoot the bird.
Absolutely,
and, my fiance will never let me live it down. She'll forever tell me I stole her bird. But so I go home, and I post the thing on Facebook, and Carter Heath actually reached out to me about 2.5 minutes, if that, after I posted the bird on Facebook. And
he's like, hold on, wait a second.
He's like, I got to see this thing. So I ended up meeting up with Carter, and he looked at the bird, and he was like, this thing's unreal. He's like, you got to get this entered into the NWTF trophy program. So I did, and ended up scoring, I think, 97.5 on the NWTF on their score sheet. And
we're going to put it up with pictures with the
pictures
podcast. So
yeah, and it's 5 beards. I think it's 9.5, 5 3/4, 6, 2.5, and then 3 inches on the 5 beards. He had inch spurs. It was 23.5 pounds, so it was a heavy bird. And Carter got in the record book for me, so it was a big shout out to Carter Heath. He does a lot for New Hampshire and the NWTF. He's really super guy.
That's
really
awesome.
really good person to have in our community as hunters. He's someone good to have on your side.
I know. I'm excited. I'm gonna go shoot one.
It is gonna be here before we know. We got only 2 months,
Yeah,
if
2
that.
months.
Everybody's got the itch. We got a lot of
got
snow
another
outside
month,
still, but
It's be scouting here in no time.
Compared to the
Another
southern
month.
part of the state, you guys got a ton of snow. We got nothing. I mean, the birds are still scratching acorns under leaves.
Yeah, I know.
really.
Oh my god, it's bare ground.
Yeah, it is.
It's nuts.
I don't know. I go up. I work up north, so
Yeah.
I got snow, and it goes more snow, more snow,
Right,
more
right.
snow. I'm like, son of a bitch, it's never gonna. I'm not. We're not gonna see a turkey season.
Yeah.
Turkeys will be
Last
strutting
year-
in the snow.
Last
Oh,
year,
yeah.
I think Arrow had snow till like June. Like
Yeah.
early
Yeah,
June.
yeah. A
Like,
lot of
that's
people were
insane.
riding sleds for a long
There's
time up there
3-4
last year.
feet up there right
yeah.
now.
Which really isn't much for up there. We still haven't even really gotten a big storm.
I know it's been a very
Not even
mild
northeastern.
Yeah.
Nothing this year.
We were talking when you got here in the driveway. We were saying the deer and turkey have had
Oh,
an excellent
yeah.
season. Like
I po-
up here, even up here.
I drove by that group that Ty's wife sees every day, if not the second group she sees. But
Yeah,
shit, I
About
looked
10
over
of them we
those.
see every
Yeah,
day.
I looked over those deer and I'm like,
they
they're
look healthy,
man.
Oh,
They
yeah.
look all of them look
Yeah.
good. I saw even a young one, probably a year and a half, and that deer was even at least 80 pounds.
Yeah, which is
So,
good. I mean,
really healthy deer. Yeah.
it's good to see them make it through the winter. You know, if they make it through the winter, I mean, they'll live usually a good life unless the coyotes get to them.
Yeah.
I mean,
So we did have some early snow too, which I'm guessing would help with the deer ticks or the winter ticks.
the winter ticks. You know, it's funny you say that because I actually saw a post on Facebook yesterday on one of the pages. Vermont had a collared. I think it was a calf.
I
And-
saw
it
that.
died.
Yeah, and it died, and they showed it like a 6-inch by 6-inch patch of the moose's hide, and it was just like,
Was it covered?
it was sad to see. It
Yeah.
was really sad. It's
That's
like
terrible.
Those poor things. I mean, they go through that, and it's just gonna wipe them out.
Those
eventually.
ticks just live off that blood. That's how they stay alive. Is just they drink that freaking
Yeah, well, we were out. What were we doing? We were just
blood.
scouting last year, and me and Lance went out and
Oh, we found that dead
we found.
moose. Yeah, that
we
cow.
were like came up into this ridge, and you can see where the moose have been stripping the
bark off the tree.
trees.
Yeah.
So
Like,
we got
oh, holy shit! You know, there's a moose up in here.
a lot of sign.
We were looking for deer sign
If you find those moose yards, you can usually find sheds in
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
too. I
So
mean,
we
usually it's a
went-
gold mine.
on another, I don't know, 100 yards maybe.
got on rabbit track, so we just kept taking
I
that
had a
rabbit
shotgun
track.
with me. So
Yeah, they like silver maples. They both
Yeah.
do. I mean, the
That's
moose
what they
and
were stripping.
the
mainly.
moose and the jacks, or the hares, they'll both.
Yep.
Like
I
that
got on
silver
a rabbit
maple.
track. I was like, oh, this thing's pretty hot. Let's just get on it, see if we can
Catch
bump it up.
catch up.
This
to the
rabbit ran right over that moose.
Oh no kidding!
Jumped
Yeah.
right over it.
Wow.
And we're like, holy shit, is that a bedded moose? So we're like sneaking up on it, and it's not moving. I'm like,
Yeah.
It's dead.
no, it's dead. It was a calf.
That's awful.
Yeah.
So, and as you got to it, you could see where the moose like struggled. Like it would run 10 yards, all of a sudden like
Drop
like
down.
kick like a horse would or something. Turn
Yeah.
around, circle around, run the other 10.
Was it
in
picked
10
on by
yards.
any predators at all?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It hadn't been
touched?
24 hours when
Wow.
it died because we had snow previous to that, and I was like, there's
Yeah, we
no
had a lot
snow
of
in these
snow.
tracks. These are all
Yeah.
like
Brand
last
new.
night.
Yeah, brand new
Yeah.
paper.
And, yeah.
That's sad to see.
I messaged one of my game warden buddies, and
They don't do
Asked
anything
him-
about it.
yeah.
you know, you want to. I don't know if they test them or if they're
they,
want to be
they know
notified.
the problem. I
Yeah.
think. I think they just know it. But I mean,
He
hopefully,
even said, I think a week before, they found a dead calf on Mount Jesse.
Yeah.
yeah, it's something.
That it wasn't far from where we are, another probably 10 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, hopefully something can be done about it. Hopefully they can preserve it because
I don't know.
Spray the DEET.
Yeah,
That's
right?
crazy, dude.
They can put a man
Kill
on the moon.
everything
And
else.
hopefully they can kill ticks. You know.
Yeah.
There's one of the comments on that thread. Actually,
Yeah.
somebody said that if we can put a man on the moon, we should be able to kill ticks. But I mean,
Yeah. Same with cancer.
yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
the inevitable. So
You want to go into this past season?
this past season was banner for me. It was
Yeah.
it was my best year, hands down. I should have went 4 days, 4 birds between Mass and New Hampshire. Mass, you can only shoot 1 bird a day. New Hampshire, you can shoot one and then go register one, or shoot one, register it, and then go back out, and you can continue to hunt in the day.
Yeah.
Open morning of Mass. A spot I scout religiously. It's kind of like an every year I get a bird there. I think the past 4 years I've killed turkeys
Oh,
there.
yeah. Everyone's got that one
Oh
spot.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
does.
This is my honey hole, and it's funny because one of my best friends actually shot a turkey in there, and he was kind of explaining it to me, and
Didn't say
I was
anything.
like, hey, did this happen to be there? And he's like, yeah, it was right there. I was like, how'd you know? I was like, because that's like my honey hole. I was like, but you know what? I was like, I'm not
It's
mad.
okay.
I was like, I'm glad it was you of all people, that found it. But I went in there and. There's always 4 or 5 toms and a good flock of hens always, and just a normal off the roost hunt. They always fly down and then they kind of walk through this timber piece and then they come out into the small field, and it's almost all surrounded by houses. Very rural hunting. And I was sitting there, and from behind me I could hear something scratching, and I'm like, wonder what that is. And I was kind of in some really thick cover. I only had the window at the field to shoot. And I looked to my right, and it was a hen. And she starts calling, so I just shut up. I was very, very little calling. I don't call much off the roost hunt, as light and as little as possible.
Wait, just do some tree calls?
Yeah,
and
some
then
soft yelps. I mean, that's some little bit of clucking. That's it. But I mean, I try
You
to
never do like a fly down cackle or anything?
I do sometimes, depending on the situation. Depends on how fired up the bird is. I mean, if that bird's really, really hot in the roost, and if I know he's alone, I'll be a little bit more vocal, but not much. I still like to be very quiet.
That worked the best for us this year. Is just hit that call a couple times and shut up.
Less is more.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is.
Less is more when it
you're
comes to
right.
turkey hunting. And so I let that hen just do the thing, and she was like 20 yards to my right, and all of a sudden I look, and I hear hens fire up like 80 yards to my left, and I see one hen, two hen, three hens, four hens come out, and they start charging at this one hen that's to my right. And I'm like, why are they charging at her? I mean, they're probably the bosses of the group. And here comes a tom right behind them, and I was like,
Ooh.
oh boy,
Here we
this is
go.
gonna be real quick. So I had my gun up on my knee, and all of a sudden the four hens, there was like a little knob in front of me, and they come walking across the knob, and the tom was last, and I shot him, and I was like, that's awesome. So I packed him up, and I was like, the day.
Now you gotta
my,
wait.
my day's done though.
Yeah.
You
What
know?
time was that?
No,
Oh, it was mass. So
yeah,
didn't
it was
matter.
mass. So
Okay.
they usually start the week before New Hampshire, that Monday.
Yeah.
They open on a Monday. I'm a firm believer in early bird gets the worm. You know,
Yeah.
if you're out there
Literally,
the first couple
yeah.
days of the season, you're gonna get turkeys. I
Yeah.
mean, you won't see as many 3-year-olds or bigger birds,
I feel
but
the same way because the first you got
go
in
youth
New Hampshire,
weekend,
you have
yeah.
youth weekend.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have
Which
open
is probably the same weekend as in Mass.
Mass.
Open.
Yeah, it's probably I think it's the day before Mass opens.
Man, you need
Those first 2 weeks in New Hampshire
Are crucial.
Are crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because if you, depending on where you're hunting, if you're hunting with a lot of other hunters, I feel like they get educated.
Oh, absolutely.
So quick.
Especially if you're hunting very, public places that get a lot of pressure. I mean, down my way during turkey season, it's nothing to go down the road and see a truck every, 300-400 yards. I mean,
Like, I know where those birds are at.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
birds. I mean, we have a lot of flocks of birds. I mean, you can go a quarter mile and find a different flock of birds from what you're hunting. But so I got out of there that day, and I went home, and I had the day off from work, so I just kind of relaxed, and I started thinking of my game plan the next day, and it was supposed to be torrential downpours that morning. And this is one of the situations where I use a decoy. I very rarely run a decoy.
Really?
Yeah, I'm strictly mostly run and gun.
Yeah.
I use decoys if I take people out because I feel like it's a little easier with a decoy, especially if you're hunting fields.
If they see it.
Yeah, if they see it, it's definitely helps. I brought a kid out this year. He's 18, 19 years old, and he shot a bird with me. No decoy. We were hunting for like 2 hours. It was really cool to watch somebody else shoot one. You know, I get to see my fiance do it, and she's a crack shot. But I went out it was pouring rain out this morning. It was the second day of mass season, and I went to the spot the night before, and there was 2 toms roosted in the trees with a couple hens, and I said I gotta get tight, and I gotta use a decoy. I gotta have him come down because 95% of the time those toms fly down the hens fly down first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. I'm like, we're gonna do this. Get in tight. Get in early. I got in like an hour and a half before light, so I could get real. I don't know. This could just be me. This could be coincidental, but I like to get in super early, like almost too early, so they have no idea that you're there.
We're going in there for like 4:30.
Yeah.
We're in there an easy hour and 20
My
minutes
dog.
before,
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, it's okay.
before they even drop down.
Yeah, so I got in there super early. I got like 50 yards from this bird, and I put the decoy out, and I sat back, and I called a little bit, and like I said, it was pouring. It was windy out. I'm like, I just got to hope this decoy works. And they gobbled like once in the tree, and I was wondering if they got bumped somehow in the roost. But I called, and it was like after fly down time. I had been watching these birds all scouting, so I'm like, they should be flying down at 5:42.
Right,
It was like
right.
6 o'clock, and they haven't
Right.
flown down yet. And I had to work that morning. I was only like 10 minutes from my work, but this tom flew down, and he flew down past the decoy actually, and so he flew down to my left, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to get a shot at this bird. My gun's straight in front of me, and he did the best thing for me, the worst thing for him, and he actually displayed. He went into a full strut, and when he did, he had his back to me,
The
and
tail.
his head
So you're
was, and
looking
his
at his ass.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking at his ass, and his head was facing away from me. And when he did, I was able to turn my gun, and as soon as he let his fan
Yeah.
down, I rolled him over, and I was like, before work, everything, I threw the bird in the truck. I was soaked. I stepped in a puddle that I felt like waist deep into. Had no idea it was there when I was trying to sneak in there early.
Yeah.
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 So then New Hampshire came, the next day, so it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was opening day in New Hampshire, and I went out and I've been watching these birds, and I saw a friend of mine there, and he was going to be hunting the other side of the road. There's kind of two separate flocks of birds. They would mingle. They would all congregate in the same places, but the toms seemed to be roosting on one side of the road, and the jakes were roosting on the other side of the road. And he was going to the side where the jakes were, so I was like, perfect. I'm gonna
stay right here.
Yeah. I don't shoot jakes anymore. I used to when I was younger, and I don't shame anybody for it by any means. I mean, if you want to shoot jakes, all the power to them. I like a nice heavy set of spurs and a nice beard,
No, yeah.
So
I agree.
so I stayed on the side of the road that I was gonna hunt, and I get there and I pull in, and I'm like, I'm gonna get right up to these birds, and I pull in, I see another truck pull in behind me. I'm like, ugh. And I told the guy what my game plan was, and he was like, I plan on going up there, but I won't now because you're going up there. So I got up there, and somebody shot, and it was
up in your area that you were saying?
not far from me. I heard a gunshot go off. It was enough to startle me, and I ended up running into the guy who shot, and he shot right in his backyard. It wasn't much of a hunt. He shot it out from underneath his bird feeder. It's like, come on, man. I was out there trying to be fair chase, and it didn't happen that way. So I got frustrated. I left, and right across the street is a spot where I've killed birds before, and I walked in there, and there's a nice dirt road that goes down, probably 400, 500, 600 yards, and I'd walk, and I'd stop about every 100 yards, call, walk, call, and when I call, try to get a bird shot gobble, I always hit them with the loudest cut, clucks, the loudest thing to make them shock, almost like you'll hear them gobble and they'll stop sometimes because you shock them. Yeah.
Holy shit was that?
Yeah, I give them the best I got right off the get-go, and I was walking, and I finally get almost to the end of this dirt road, and I called, and I heard a bird fire up on top of this hill, and I'm like, all right, it's that 8:30, 9 o'clock time where the hens are going to their nests.
Yeah,
this bird's looking, so I sat down right on the edge of the roadway, and it's a logging road, so it's class 6 road, not even, you can shoot right on the roadway. Yeah. So I like I said, I don't use a decoy, so I just put my back to a tree up on top of a knob, and I was watching the birds. They were walking through some mountain laurel, and they were just zigzagging. There was 2 toms, and finally one of them was staying like 60 yards behind the other one, and one of them come out onto the roadway, and he was displaying, and I could hear his wings dragging on the ground. I was watching him, and he'd go back into the woods, and then he'd come back up through the woods, and he got up onto the roadway, and he just kept coming on a string, and I'm like, keep coming,
Yeah.
keep coming.
Only a matter of time.
Yeah, and I was like, as soon as you get to that opening, I'm shooting. And finally, he was full display, full strut, and he walked right up to me, and I shot him right in that opening, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. So I went, I registered him, and I went back out. I had a group of toms going, and later to my knowledge, I didn't.
Same.
No.
Oh.
I went a couple towns over and closer to my house because it was later in the day. I'm like, get home for a reasonable time, and I scouted this piece very lightly. And that's unlike me. Usually when I scout, I know every tree in the place for birds. And,
Right.
There was a brook, and they didn't want to cross the brook, and I should have been on the other side of the brook, and I would have got a shot at them. They came down to the brook, they stopped and turned around and went back up to the field. I didn't end up making anything happen that afternoon, and then the next day I went out to that spot where I first went on opening day, and got right up 40 yards underneath a tom and a hen in a tree. I roosted them the night before, and same thing. I said I gotta get tight and underneath this guy, and early season's tough because there's no cover on, nothing's green.
Nothing.
It's all bare.
No green,
It's really hard to get up underneath those birds without busting them. So I got up underneath them, and I was calling a little bit, and the hen flew down, and she flew down like feet from me. Like I could have thrown my shotgun. I could throw my shotgun at her.
Yeah.
And the tom flew down like 40 yards behind her down the hill, and I was like, oh, this ain't gonna happen this morning. I only got an hour before work, so I packed up and I started to head back to the trail that I walked in on, and I get there and I just happened to catch something out of the corner of my eye that I thought was red, and I look, and it's a tom full display, like feet from me, like 10 feet from me. I'm like, oh boy. So I clicked the safety off on my gun, and I leaned back, and then I peeked back out around this hemlock tree again. And
He was just walking down the trail?
He was coming up the trail. He was coming right towards me, and I got impatient. And usually I'm the most patient person when it comes to turkey hunting, believe it or not. I can, I usually wait a good amount of time till I know a bird's gone, but I think I just was like, I had work on the brain, you know.
Right.
So I stepped back.
Gotta get out of here.
Yeah, so I stepped back, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stick my head back out around this tree and shoot, and I did, and he just slightly picked his head up, and I thought I had it right on him, but but he was so close. I mean, my pattern was like a
shooting
slug
a
at
golf
that
ball,
point.
yeah.
Exactly. So I missed him, and I was like, I could have gone 4 for 4, but then that weekend,
That's still pretty impressive.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
That's a good run.
Yeah,
You
3
can't
days.
complain about that.
So then I ended up going that weekend, and that same spot where I shot my bird opening day, there was another tom there with him. So I went back there, and I had that bird come in on a string right off the roost. It was unreal. And it was a rainy, foggy morning, and my glasses completely fogged up. I couldn't see, and he's at like 30 yards. He kind of caught me off guard, and their eyesight is 50 times better than ours.
yeah.
So I just literally made a slight turn to the right and gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm busted.
Yeah.
So I ended up going up to a spot I deer hunt, and I walked in, and I parked down at this guy's house, and there was a bird displayed up on this mound, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go try to get down below, and called him. He was all by himself, and I got down, and there was a roadway right there, and it was like a 3-way intersection. I got down to the 3-way intersection. I called, and that tom came right in. I mean, it was a matter of 2-minute hunt. I mean, I got lucky. I saw him, he was standing up on top of the mound, but he came walking right down the roadway, and I shot him, and I was like, all right, sweet tag. All right, so now I'm sitting there, and I'm like,
my season's over.
my season's done, and it's only the first week. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I thought
It's going to be a long way to deer season.
Yeah, so I brought my fiance out. She got a Jake, and then I brought a friend out. He got a Tom.
Awesome.
And then
That's almost as it's like
Oh,
taking
yeah.
people out is almost it's even more enjoyable.
it is because
than
you
going
get
out
you get
there.
to see it.
Yeah.
Like I won't lie, I'm a little greedy when I like to shoot my birds first.
Yeah.
I like to see other people shoot them, but I like to shoot them as well.
Right.
I love shooting birds, but do you know what? I could go almost every season without just bringing people out.
Yeah,
And watching
it's a
birds
like
all day.
just people's smiles, and when they
Oh,
jump
yeah,
up, the
pumped
joy.
up.
It's
Oh.
awesome.
Even when it doesn't work out, it's like that encounter.
Yeah,
When
the
you
birds
feel that
coming
ground
up.
vibrate,
Oh.
it's like
Hammering.
thunder chickens.
that's
There's
that's
nothing,
the drug right
There's
there.
no other
know?
animal like that.
No, there
No.
not Elk maybe.
Elk,
Yeah.
we don't got it.
I haven't experienced that, but yeah.
So I brought my fiance out and a friend of mine, and I ended up going up to Maine, and I contacted a friend of mine who I met actually when I was moose hunting up in Maine, and he kind of pointed me in the directions of some birds. He said, you should probably go check these set of power lines out and go hunt it or go explore it. So I did, and I walked in down this roadway, and it was a couple hundred yards, and I said, if I get to that next hill and I don't hear anything, I said, I'm gonna get out of here. So I was, I'd call and I'd yelp or I'd cut real loud trying to get something to shot gobble, and I walked down through this ravine, and I got to the hill on the other side, and I didn't get anything going, and I turned around to walk out, and this all of a sudden a bird fires up like so close to me that I thought I was busted. There was a dead tree behind me, and I remember I just looked. There was 3 trees. There was 2 that were really small, and there was a big dead tree, and I just threw my back against it. And I remember I was finishing putting on my left glove as I'm watching this tom display across this knob, this bluff, and I'm like, I hope I am not busted. And he just stayed displayed, and he came in on I'm a righty, so he came in on my right side, so it was my weak side. So I'm following him, and finally I'm just about to get a clear shot. I was probably 3 seconds away from pulling the trigger, and in front of me, just feet in front of me, I hear the leaves rustling,
Yeah.
and I turn and I look back, and there's 2 toms directly in front of me. So I just they had their head down, they were scratching, and I turned back, and I shot one tom, and he fell over, and the other tom decided, hey,
I'm gonna
yeah,
hang around
yeah,
here.
my turn to step up in the hierarchy, and he started to beat up
Gotcha,
on him.
bitch.
Yeah. So he started beating up on him, and that was a bad mistake for him. He should have taken off when he heard boom.
So
But
rolled them both.
yeah, I rolled them both, and
Nice.
I called my friend. He's like, "There's no way." He's like, "You just got there." I was like, "I was in the woods 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and I'm tagged out in Maine." He's like, "That's awesome." So I went and visited them, and big shout out to Ken for that. Thank you for
Awesome.
pointing me in
Yeah.
that direction. It was unreal. So this year I'm ready for it. As winter's very slow.
slow.
Yeah, it's as slow as slow can be.
This
I mean,
is the slowest part too.
oh
It's
yeah,
like,
March, April, and
Everybody's
March.
excited for winter. You got
Yeah.
Christmas, New Year's, whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
let's get some snow.
Then
let's
all of
get
a sudden
some
you get
snow.
a day that's like, oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I was thinking now, like you get a day that's 55, and you're like, oh yeah, it's almost
It's
spring.
almost
I'm going
yeah,
to
it's
Florida
almost
next
spring.
week, so I'm like, this can break up the
Oh,
monotony
shit,
of
yeah.
winter.
Yeah.
I'm like, I
Good-
can't
good
wait.
thing.
Then you'll
Yeah.
come back from Florida. It'll be -3.
Exactly. Yeah, no, 100%. That's how it always goes, Or I'll go down there, it'll be 40 degrees.
Yeah,
you know?
it'll be something cool.
Yeah.
Rainy and shitty out.
Yeah, exactly. That's my luck,
How come you don't use decoys? I'm just curious. Is
So-
there just because of running gun and reasons?
In the
or-
woods, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's definitely what it is, but in the woods, I feel like I have scared birds actually with decoys. It's very, they'll come up over a hill and there's a bird right there, and it startles them.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can see that.
In a field, it's a very effective method.
Right. I see what you're saying.
I don't shame anybody for the way they hunt. If somebody wants to hunt with decoys in their bow, I truly believe that the turkeys were put on this planet to be shot in the face with number 5s.
Yeah, right.
That's what they were put here for. That's me. Some people, they get their rocks off shooting them with a bow, but I just don't. I have, but I like shooting them with a gun, and I just feel like it's another thing to carry.
You're right.
I can do it with. I have done it, and I can do it without a decoy, and it's more mobile. Running gun is a lot more accessible. If I'm hunting a field and I know I need a decoy, I will use it. If it's a high pressure area, or if there's a lot of hens there and I gotta try to get him to land on me or get the hens to land by my decoy, then I will use it. But if I'm hunting woods, a lot of the times, that Tom. It's amazing how well they can pinpoint you, and and they'll come in looking, and if you can keep him just kind of on his toes looking, I mean, a lot of the times he's going to fall right on your lap. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of things that people don't realize with running gunning is, it's very you're
going in blind.
Yeah, you're going in blind,
in effect,
and
like,
you're
when you're talking running gunning, you're talking about either
jumping spots.
Something didn't happen right on the roost,
right.
So now it's say 7 o'clock.
Yeah, but you know what? From 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, I don't care what anybody says, there's a lull. You will. Yeah. It is very rare that you shoot a bird from like 7 to 8 o'clock. Yeah. I mean, when those toms and hens get together, they have their mindset on what they're going to do. Like whether they go feed or they dust themselves.
You shoot them off the roost or they're going to be henned up.
Exactly. So, I mean, they'll dust themselves or they'll go feed or whatever they do when they get off the roost if they just display in the field.
Think, an hour off the roost?
Yeah.
And then after that?
I think they hit water first, right off the roost.
8:30 is like, that is the time. I mean, that's magic time to me. It's those hens will start, you'll see 5-10 hens together in a field or in the woods, and then all of a sudden there'll be 2 in a tom because a couple of them have gone to their nest for the day.
Yeah.
And
well, you're just cutting them off. You know where they're going, then you cut them off.
And that's a big thing in my scouting. Every day before work in April 1st I start scouting, and I'm there every morning. So when opening morning comes, I can say, yep, they've flown down the past 3 mornings at 5:42 or 5:43. I know what time that bird's going to hit the ground.
Right.
So usually I have a good consensus of what's going on where they are, but on like Saturdays and Sundays I'll go scout and I know where that bird's going to be at 10 o'clock, so at 8-10 o'clock I know where that bird's going to be. So if I go to that spot at 8 or 10 o'clock, I don't have to waste my time. I can go right to where I know that bird has been at 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Calls
and pretty much have them fire
I'm in, I'm within a couple hundred yards of them pretty much every time. And, there's always room for error, people walking through the woods.
Oh,
or, people walking their dogs or whatever, there's a lot of room for error that can happen. But for the most part, I mean, where I scout, from the time they get out of the tree to the time they go back up in the tree, I know most of what they're doing.
Nice,
Unfortunately, we can't all day hunt in New Hampshire and Mass, but Maine you can. So Maine is
it's nice because we're so close. You can hunt till noon.
Yeah,
and then. You want to go to Maine real quick?
Right.
Yeah.
And I was hoping to do that this year with Mass. I was like, I think Mass and Maine open on the same day this year, so I can hunt the morning in Mass, and then I can go hunt the afternoons in Maine. But it's actually a week apart, so it's not that bad. It'll hopefully make my season last longer. Yeah. Right. I'm hoping so. So.
I want to touch on contacts.
What do you mean by contacts?
Like you said your glasses fogged up.
Oh yeah.
I used to wear glasses.
And
I used to hunt with glasses. So I used to, like in the wintertime when I'm trudging up ridges and it's like cold out and all of a sudden
you just fog.
You come around a corner and it's like
man, I can't. It can't work. Have you tried contacts?
I have, and I actually had contacts before I had glasses, and my eye doctor was like, "You sure you want to do that?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Because I don't want to have to wear glasses. If I like contacts, I want it to be what I know,
Right.
And I put contacts in, and I didn't mind them. I just can't get over the fear of touching my eye. It's like I can get them in there and I can get them out, but it's like I got to wrestle the things in and out of there, and it's very uncomfortable for me to do.
Yeah.
And I wasn't wearing them faithfully, but I want to get LASIK surgery, but I've heard that a lot of people say like first and last light situations, it's very hard to see after you get LASIK surgery. So that's my fear. I don't want to do it if that's how it's going to be,
Jackson just walked in. You want to say something?
Can
Can you make a turkey call? I want to touch on turkey gear.
On turkey gear, oh boy, I can go on for hours
Are
about
you
this
running
one.
a vest?
Yeah, I just have. I don't go crazy. I mean, some guys spend $200-$400 on a turkey hunting vest. I don't.
I got a redhead from Bass Pro.
Yeah,
It's
I think that's what I have.
camo blend on it. I think it was like $50-$60 maybe, if that.
Yeah, you see like people do like purse stump, like girls do purse stumps, and, and you know they have everything in their life is in their purse. In my turkey hunting vest, I think I have an extra five shots. In the box, I have one mouth call, one box call, and some guys will have 2, 3, 4 different types of mouth calls and box calls and slate calls. I always find the one that I think sounds best, and that's what I run.
Yeah.
I'll keep a spare in my truck just in case, but there's no need to have 4 or 5 of them with you, for clutter, noise. You want to be, in my situation where I run and gun, I try to stay light and mobile as possible.
Sometimes the vest gets in the way.
It does.
It's almost like
mine's got a turkey pouch in the back and it's got a seat built in.
Yeah, mine does too. Yeah, and I kind of can't stand it sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it definitely gets in the way, but other times it's like, oh, I'm glad I had that seat.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
there's a stick or something digging into your leg.
Yep.
You're like, yeah, I'm glad I had that. But
drop the seat down. Yeah.
But I think I usually have 3 shells that I actively cycle in and out of the gun, and if I shoot at a bird, I'll pull one out of the box of 5. And then, like I said, I got usually a box call, which I don't really use that much. I use it if I'm trying to locate birds.
I never touch base on that box call unless it's freaking blowing 30 or something.
Yeah, if I want to get a loud call out there, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's some mouth calls that sound like you got a 200-pound hen.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh yeah, it's raspy as
hell. Oh yeah, I mean they're real loud, but I don't really touch a slate call honestly because I'm not that good at it. I'll be the first person to admit it. I'm terrible with a slate call, but I mean a mouth call, I'm pretty good with it. Box call.
What's nice about the mouth, you can set up. You can be ready and not
hands
worry
free.
about that hands free.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something that I'm a diehard mouth call hunter. But in my vest is pretty mobile. I mean, I don't carry too much. Face mask.
You wear gloves too.
Yeah, I wear gloves. Yep. Some guys don't go to that extreme, and I mean honestly, when you later in the season when you have a lot of green cover, I mean you don't even really need to wear a face mask, but I just do. I mean, I got a baby face and it's got a lot of shine to it.
Yeah, but
so I don't. Who
cares though? On that fact, the mosquitoes.
Oh, absolutely.
When the leaves hit the trees,
the mosquitoes become
my
fierce.
god,
it's
we
always carry like 100% DEET.
Yeah. Spray yourself. Any advantage I can have, if a glove really makes that much of a difference, I'm gonna wear it.
It's for the mosquito wise.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not sitting there slap my hands 24/7. Just the freaking
the worst. Yeah. It's like something's working in. You don't know where they are.
Right.
You got one like right here. Just like
you're on your eyebrow.
Yeah, twitching your eyebrow trying to get it off. Yeah. And my friend, I brought a friend of mine out, and I had this bird come in on a string. This bird was gobbling. I think I counted. It was like 10 or 11 seconds. This bird would gobble. This Tom every 10 or 11 seconds. He just. I've never seen a bird so hot in my life. Still to this day. And the bird was coming in, and when the bird hit the ground, all of a sudden we heard. Jake's in the tree neck, like literally like 20 yards away from us, and I see my friend starting getting restless. I'm like, do not move. That Tom is right on the other side of the knob in front of us, and he starts slapping his hands, and all of a sudden all the Jakes and they just start flying off, taking off.
There goes the Tom.
Yeah, and then the Tom shut up. We never saw that bird. And I mean, that bird came from like 80 yards to he was literally 40 yards. We just couldn't see him, and the mosquitoes. He was sitting there swatting away mosquitoes. I'm like, come on. I'm like,
sometimes it gets
you couldn't
bad
fight
out
through
there.
it though.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You can fight through it.
You can. It's a mind over matter game.
We went out last year behind my buddy Josh's house.
Yeah.
And what did I forget? We forgot bug spray, and I had a hat on and my mask that was like come up to my eyebrows.
I pulled that mask right up to my hat, and put my hat over the mask. So it was like a net.
I didn't have a whole mask. I had
you had like a bow hunting.
If you were
pull up. Like if you were bow hunting.
Saltwater fishing.
You
had like that thing. I had that like up, so it came up to here. So my forehead was like
it was
still
nothing
there.
But bumps.
It looked like I was in high school with acne. I was like, hey, do I have any bug bites? They're like, holy shit!
Yeah, shoot alive.
Yeah.
Oh, they can be brutal. Springtime is awful.
Those fucking midgies.
Oh, it's awful. I mean, there's some days you don't even want to go out because you're like, the mosquitoes. 8
o'clock. Fuck, the mosquitoes are gonna be.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
What do you run for a gun?
I have just a Remington 870 Super Mag. Pump, super reliable. I mean, I know a lot of guys that run semis. A pump, it's manual.
Pump, you can't get more reliable.
You're not going to run into problems with it.
No.
I shoot 3.5-inch long beard XRs. That's, number 5s. That's
your
what
go-to.
I've found.
XRs are freaking
Yeah,
deadly.
that's the best thing. I mean, I've bought all the other ones, and those are the best rounds I can find to shoot. I even shot the TSS out of my gun, but I can't justify spending $10 a shot either.
Right.
So those
The XLRs are freaking.
they're like a buck
they're
a
like-
shot,
yeah,
$1.50 a shot.
They're not cheap.
No, but
It's
I mean,
like $20 for a box.
yeah,
or 10, I think.
yeah. So it's $2 a
Yeah.
shot, but I mean, I'll pay that to shoot a turkey any day of the week.
Well, plus you know how your gun shoots after probably padding in a couple times.
So I actually didn't get glasses until like 2 years ago. I refused to. I was like wicked stubborn about it, and I was like, you know what? I missed 3 turkeys in one season. I'm like, this is it. I'm like, I got to go get glasses.
That was my thing. It's like I had glasses for a long time. I think like a lens fell out in the woods.
Ooh.
And I was like,
Blind.
yeah, no, I was like, oh shit, man, I'm dizzy.
Yeah.
I'm dizzy. I was talking with my dad. I was like, hold on, I gotta sit down for a second. I went to go take my glasses off, and I got one. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I just can't
Good
see.
to go.
But I didn't have glasses from, I don't know, the time I was 13 or 14 till, I don't know, 3 years ago.
Yep.
And just when you put them on and you can see like the leaves on the trees.
Oh, yeah, it's game
not
changer.
just the block,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
globs. I'm
Yeah.
like, holy shit! I
Yeah.
can see, now I'm gonna kill everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So I ended up putting a gobble stopper on my gun, the True Glow red dot. It's a really affordable red dot, and it holds true. I mean, knock on wood, I've only had it 2 or 3 seasons on my gun now. and
Double-sided sticky tape, right?
to what?
Oh no, okay. Never mind. I'm
No,
thinking of
mine
something else.
mounts on a Picatinny reel.
Yep,
that
I know what
goes
you're
right on
talking
top
about.
of
It's
the
like a
shotgun.
triangle.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But
Or
then
no, it's like a.
it's
yeah,
a round.
oval.
It's
Yep.
a round. It's like a
Almost
it
2
looks
points.
just like a scope.
2 points in the side. Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it
red
looks
dot
just like a
scope.
scope.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, it is a red dot scope.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's what I run on it. And I mean, it's great because as soon as the turkey's head gets inside that circle,
You're good.
It's dead. It's a dead bird, And I mean, I was shooting 50 yards last year at the range. I shot one turkey once. It was probably all of that, but most of the times, it's 20, 30 yards. If the
Oh yeah.
You
you're
guys
getting
talking
right in
about
your
chokes?
face.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Carlson.
Yeah. Carlson.
I shoot
Carlson,
Carlson,
or
too.
Indian Creek. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a Carlson in my gun. And
So-
What are you running for? What size choke?
you had to ask me that. I was gonna look.
What do
at
you
it
do?
before
Modify.
that,
Do you
too.
shoot the XLR choke with the XLR ammo? Am I saying that right? XLR?
It's XR.
XR. Okay.
XR.
So he's shooting the long beard ammunition with the long beard choke.
No, I don't think mine's it's a Carlson, but I forget which one it is.
I end up getting the XR. See, I got a Franke 20
Yeah.
semi, and I got the XR long beard choke, and I shot the XR through the gun, and
Yep.
it didn't pattern right.
Really?
So yeah.
Yeah, I forget
It-
what mine is, but I just got it last year, and I mean, game changer. Game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, 50
Yeah.
yards, it's like you're getting
Carlson choke tooth's been
30,
around
30
forever.
pellets in the head.
Right,
It's like,
yeah.
that's a dead bird. That's deadly,
Well, if we put out a decoy, it's at like 20 yards. That way I know, like,
We like cutting over decoy.
Yeah.
I've done it ever since I grew up. I don't know what it is about it. It's just.
It's
I don't know.
the
fun.
show you get when
Oh,
a Tom
yeah.
comes into a
Yeah.
decoy, there's nothing like it. I mean, you see that Tom fully relaxed. I
Yeah.
mean, like when you're running and gunning, a lot of posture. I mean, there's a lot of posture difference from decoy hunting versus running and gunning. I mean, you see a turkey come into a decoy, he's usually displaying, he's strutting. He's calm. His snoot is hanging down all the way to the
Yeah.
tip of his
So
beak.
yeah, he's relaxed.
He's relaxed, and I mean, when you're running and gunning, I mean, you have to almost know how to read turkey body language, I guess per se.
Right.
The smallest thing from like a quick wing flap, or just a turn of the body. I mean, he can be gone in half a second.
Oh, yeah.
You see that snood stand, erect.
Oh yeah,
upright.
he's kind of alarmed.
Yeah, he's alarmed. I mean, for the most part, when turkeys are coming in, I mean, they stay on a pretty consistent trot. It's like they might favor start to lean one way or the other. But I mean, if you start to see a turkey just stop and you see him pick his head up, you better shoot. If he's within range, you better
Yeah,
shoot because
shoot.
and then when you hear the pop,
yeah, if you
Yeah,
hear
it's all
that,
over.
if you hear that,
Yeah.
it's all done. You might as well go get breakfast. But I mean,
No, I've definitely I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I've definitely ran into problems in the woods with decoys sometimes, and just that other fact of if you're running and gunning, and all of a sudden
sometimes
you
you don't have time to set
yeah,
it up.
you get into that piece.
you have
of
a
wood,
bird light up 80 yards away
Yeah,
like I
you're
did
like,
in Maine. I
you're
never,
like,
I just sat down and it was
Especially
game
it's
over.
hard for the
Right.
kids because if you're going into a piece running and gunning with the kids, like, oh shit, a bird just gobbled there. Sit right here. I'm
Yeah.
gonna set up the decoy.
For kids and for people just getting into it. Fields are hands down the best.
Yeah,
Put
if
a
you got
blind
a
up.
field, yeah.
I mean, you can have a full blown conversation in a blind and have a turkey walk right up to you,
Yeah.
and they're not going to hear you. You can move. I mean, if you wear black clothing inside of a blind, you're concealed. A turkey's not going to hear you. He's not going to see you. I mean, they'll walk right into decoys for the most part. I do that. I did that with my fiance last year. She's gonna kill me for saying this too. I put a bird right in her lap, and it was cool. He came in. We got out of the car. I called, and I had to throw up a blind and decoy in seconds. And the bird came right in, displayed. He came right around the blind, and I'll give her this.
By the feet.
Yeah, it was pretty close, and she ended up missing. But I mean, it was so close that I don't blame her. I probably would have missed.
Yeah,
like you said, shooting a golf ball at him. And it was cool though. He came in displayed and he circled the decoy, and he just hung out by that hen. He maybe took 3 steps in 20 minutes. It was like he was just so content hanging out there. He was so glad he found a hen for the middle of the day. It was 11:30 when we got there, and she shot at like I have it on video on my phone. She probably shot at like 11:52, and I was like, I picked her up at the house. I was like, let's go. I'm like, let's go try to shoot this turkey. And we literally hurried there. Like she was barely in camo or black clothes, whatever she had on. And I'm like, let's go. And I set everything up real quick, and it was cool. I mean, in my eyes, it was successul. We called the bird in just because she didn't kill it doesn't mean it wasn't a successful one.
Absolutely.
I get to
they put on a show for you. That's good enough for me.
I got to give my fiance kudos to her. I hunt from September 1st to December 31st. I hunt every day, and she never ever once has told me no, you can't go. The whole month of May, when we're getting married actually this upcoming August, and she knew there were strict stipulations, no wedding from September to December. In the month of May, there was no wedding. So she goes hunting with me. She shot her first bear this year. So that's awesome. Yeah, she's a trooper. She really is. She her dad's a hunter, and she grew up in Pennsylvania. So I mean, it's a way of life down there. So I hit the lottery, and people remind me of it every day. So I'm lucky of that.
About that. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good deal. Do you any deer hunting this year at all?
Oh, I just want
to touch on deer hunting for a second because I still have I got one more thing to ask you.
We could go a couple hours on deer hunting. We'll save that for a different day.
Okay, let's touch on what you were just going to say, and we can get on for.
All right. Well, let's talk about for people that are listening. Never turkey hunted ever in their life. They want to go out this spring.
Yep.
Go over the basics. What would you do first? So it's opening day of turkey season, or let's start with scouting. Yeah. Where are you looking to scout? What kind of tactics are you calling? Do you want to educate the birds with your call, or are you certain calls you're using?
For scouting. Yeah.
I want to do is just from bare minimum
from start to finish.
Let's get after that.
I mean gear. I mean I'll go into gear and then I'll go scouting. For gear, I mean you're gonna want basic camo. You don't have to buy Sika camo. You don't have to buy big.
Go into Walmart.
Go into Walmart. Buy your cheapest pair of pants, your cheapest sweatshirt, your cheapest hat, gloves, mask. Decent pair of hunting boots. You don't have to go crazy.
It's warm. It's decently warm out.
If you have a shotgun that has an interchangeable choke, just get a decent full choke. You don't have to spend $60, $80, $100 on a choke.
Hell no.
You just get something that 20 to 30 yards you're gonna kill a bird. You don't have to buy buy a shell that's quality. You don't even have to I hate to keep reiterating this that you don't need a decoy, but it definitely helps, especially for a beginning hunter. If you're on
you can buy a $12 foam decoy at Walmart.
Exactly.
And my grandfather still uses those.
Exactly, and they're super effective. Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's like it don't matter. You don't need the ABS.
Cardboard cutout.
Yeah, a box call.
Decoy. Yeah,
a box call is probably the easiest call for anybody to learn how to use. That's never turkey hunted. A mouth call can be a little harder.
Steve, bring your mic up a little bit.
A box call can be a little easier. Slate's a little harder, but anybody can learn how to use a box call pretty much within a couple hours. Right. So I would say that if you got a good gun, a good call, camo, determination, you can kill a turkey in New Hampshire.
Right, absolutely.
And from scouting, I usually go back to birds that I found while deer hunting or while driving. I've almost ran myself off the road a million times, stopping.
So if you have someone family with property, someone with property, check that property out.
Yep.
Driving to work, you can see birds on the side of the road.
Yeah,
you would.
Oh, absolutely! Yeah. I would pursue them, especially. If you have an exclusive, if it's posted and you have permission, you have a gold mine in southern New Hampshire. There's still people that try to sneak in, but if you can get there and have authority in the place, that's a gold mine in itself. But even if not, if you know there's birds, on a certain ridge or in a certain chunk of woods or a certain field, I I will never ever call from the road. I will call for turkeys, right before they go up in their roost, so they're the last thing I hear. Or I am the last thing they hear, and then I'm the first thing they hear in the morning. They're anxious to see
scouting
me.
reasons.
Yeah,
like
for
this is
scouting.
before
Before the season. I don't like to call a ton, but people will use owl hooters and crow calls, and I can hoot with my hands for owls, but the best way to get a turkey to cobble is by calling from a turkey's perspective.
Of course.
They may not always.
That's the easiest.
Yeah, they
especially
may
if
not
you're
always
getting into
shock gobble, but I mean, people are like, "Oh, you're gonna scare birds." Turkeys hear turkeys all day long.
all through winter.
Yeah, I mean, there's turkeys everywhere in this state. I mean, it's not like they're gonna hear a hen and all of a sudden that bird's gonna be call shy.
Right.
So
right.
I'll never call from the road because that will educate birds. I mean, if they see people stopping on the side of the road and calling from a car, that's not a turkey.
Especially
That Chevy,
yeah.
that Chevy's talking sweet.
Yeah. But I would just put your homework in. I would go there every morning before the sun comes up, park your truck, try to get into, if you can't see where they're roosting from the road, I would just take a short walk, try to stay, 100, 200 yards away and just listen and what, pine trees, 95% of the time. I mean,
pine, big oaks.
Yeah, exactly. That's 95% of the time. That's where they're roosted. A lot of easy way to find, not easy, but a helpful way to find roosting trees is, usually you'll find big pine trees and you'll see a ton of scat on the ground, a ton of poop, and it's usually scratched very heavily right there because they're going up before they go to bed. They're grabbing food, and when they first wake up, they're going for food. So whether they're eating acorns or bugs or whatever they're digging for, I mean, usually underneath roosting trees, it's scratched
littered.
up. It's littered with sign, and especially scat because they're going to poop all night while they're up in the tree.
Right.
I'd definitely say have A, B, and C, like at least 3 spots, just in case there's a truck there in the morning.
Absolutely.
Hit your next spot, or one spot didn't work out.
Or
A, B, and C.
miss, or there's a million variables that you can have.
Definitely don't. You can put your time into one spot, but definitely have. I would say at least 3.
And I think a lot of people get hung up on the fact of, oh, well, I saw turkeys here last week, or oh, I saw turkeys here, during deer season. It's like it's just like it
changes.
It's just like deer. You got to hunt where the deer are. You can't hunt where the deer were. You got to be where they are. And same with turkeys. I mean, if you're sitting there every morning and you're not hearing birds gobble and you're just calling for the hell of it, you're not going to shoot a turkey. The turkeys aren't there.
Yeah.
So like I said, I mean, I'll get out. Some of my spots, I mean, I got it pretty made. I can watch right from my truck, and I know when they're going to fly down, or I can see when they fly down. I take record of everything that happens. Okay, there was, the 2 toms were over there, and there was a single tom down by the swamp, and they all flew down at 5:42. And okay, so I'm going to try to set up on that single tom opening day because he's very vulnerable. The 2 toms that are with the hens, I mean, I can try for them, but that lone tom is going to be a lot more vulnerable than those 2 toms.
That's a good point. Take it for a beginner hunter. That's someone that's scouting, especially. You can scout from the road, like you're saying.
Oh, absolutely.
Take a notebook with you. Even write down.
Write everything down.
These birds flew down at 5:45, and
that way you'll never forget.
Went right to feeding. Put their heads right down.
Yep.
A lot of toms displaying, a lot of hens are feeding.
Yep.
Yeah. Make note of whatever.
Everything. And you know what?
Definitely.
Good spot to always find turkeys roosting are always near water. Rivers, ponds, swamps. They're always good. And I don't know if it's.
I feel like they hit that water first too when they drop down.
Absolutely, but I also think it's a sense of security because I mean, what's going to come from water that's going to come get them? And if anything does come from water, they're going to hear it.
Right.
See like a big old brown trout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. No, but I mean, always a water source is usually like the spot I hunt in Mass. Probably 5 years ago, it was so cool. I walked in. And I roosted the birds the night before, and I didn't even hear there was 2 toms on the backside of the pond, and that's where I set up because they usually roost on the backside of the pond, and they fly across, and there's a roadway, and they display on the roadway. And I set up, and I look up in the tree right in front of me, and there's a tom roosted 30 yards in front of me, and I'm watching him display, and it was so hard for me to call, and I didn't want him to bust me because I was pretty exposed, and there was a tom like probably 200 yards down behind him, and I could very faintly hear him gobbling, and they just surrounded this pond. There was 5 toms around this whole pond, and that tom that was 30 yards in front of me ended up actually busting me, and he took off. And the tom that was like 200 yards down ended up calling that bird, and I'll never forget it. He come running up the road, literally, like you could see his whole chest swinging as he comes running up the road.
This is Turkey Baywatch,
baby.
Yeah,
exactly. And I had a hen actually come up. She flew across the pond, and she walked feet in front of me, and she didn't bust me, luckily. And she walked up in the woods, and she called a little bit, and I think between me calling and that hen that walked in front of me calling, that tom just came running on a string, and I was with my friend. He was tagged out, and he put an F word in the middle here. He said, "Don't miss," and the thing was, it was probably the closest turkey I've ever shot. It was maybe 5 steps, and I shot this thing, and its head went in 2 pieces. And not to get too vulgar, but it was that close, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just a good starting point for roost. Always find that, and you know, if you see birds they're in a roost and they're flying down to the same corner of a field every day, that's where you're going to want to be. You're not going to want to be on the other side of the field and hope that they come across. I hate
They're on a mission.
I hate to use the word pattern, but it really is a pattern. I mean, if they're flying down into the same cow pasture, or the same corner of a field, or the same knob, or the same oak ridge, yeah, you're going to want to be there, because if you can keep it as natural as possible, they're not going to be as weary. They're not going to be as alert. It's just another turkey to them. So I would always try to be where they come down off the roost. Like I was saying earlier, there's always like that 7 to 8 o'clock lull. So don't get discouraged if you don't kill a bird right off the roost. Always go back.
A little bit.
Yeah, go get a coffee. Go do whatever you got to do.
Go get a breakfast sandwich.
Yeah, go drive around.
Circle K.
Yeah, do whatever you got to do, and 8:30, hit the woods hard. Start walking those logging roads. Start walking those ridge tops. I mean, just start putting boots to ground. I mean, your legs may hurt at the end of some days turkey.
Yeah.
6-7 miles. I've done it. I mean, I've been with friends and trying to get them birds, and we've done it. But just every 100 yards, hit them with a fast, loud call, something that's going to get them to shock gobble. And if you get them to shock gobble, you got a good chance of them being susceptible to being killed. They're out looking. They're not. Sometimes 8 o'clock, you'll still have those toms with hens, but you get into that 9, 10, 11 o'clock time frame. Most of those hens are on their nest,
right? Yeah,
and those toms are out. They're cruising looking for love in all the wrong places. So it's a good time to get them. And I mean, sometimes they just you'll get educated birds that have been shot at or pressured, and less is more always with calling. I'm a firm believer in that. I mean,
I kind of want to. Yeah, I want to go. I want to touch on that before we got too much further. It's like, if someone was to go in, they roosted a bird, they're gonna go up in the morning, and they're gonna start calling.
Be there way before daylight. That's a huge thing. Do not go in there, say the bird's landing at 5:45 on the ground every day.
Yeah,
don't stroll in there at 5:40 and think you're gonna kill that bird, because they're gonna bust you way before then. Get in there at 4:30, even 5 o'clock, and get in there. Be quiet. Do not try to walk under the birds. I know sometimes it's gonna happen, and I've done it on a rainy day once. I'll never forget this tom. I missed him too at 20 yards. This was one of the birds I missed when I needed glasses.
Yeah.
But don't walk underneath them. I never use a flashlight. Even when deer hunting, I walk in the dark and I walk out in the dark.
Too,
I don't touch a flashlight at all. I mean, unless you really have to. If you get caught,
especially during turkey season.
Yeah. I mean, some guys say, "Oh, use a red light." I just rather not use anything. If keep it as natural as possible. Set up where those birds have been. You're gonna take a nap. You're gonna be sitting there for 45 minutes before a show starts. But I mean, if you're new to it, your adrenaline's gonna be through the roof just hearing that bird gobble 40, 50, 60 yards away from you. You want to, if they're landing in a certain spot, be there. But if not, just try to get close. And later in the season, it's going to be easier to get closer without getting busted, because there's going to be more foliage on the trees. It's not going to be exposed, like you would be in late April, early May.
Right, yeah.
But
definitely. So do you let the birds talk first before you hit that first call, especially on the roost?
I always let the birds fire up first.
Yeah, okay.
And sometimes
we do the same thing.
I've had birds that never even gobbled once.
Oh yeah, and they're there. They're just
I mean, you can see them in the tree.
Last year we had an issue like where we always hunt. It was like we wait. It was like the sun's coming up.
Right? I like the even.
We usually when the songbirds start chirping. Yeah. I'm like, okay, it's gotta be soon. It's gotta be soon, and I'll wait.
What I'll do is
wait.
Hit a hoot tube.
Yeah.
And just see if I can get them to gobble right on the roost, and just see. I'm like, all right, they're in that general area. Even as early like, I want to say 4:45, I'll just start hitting hoot tubes just to see if something will wake up.
And usually, like if I'm gonna go in and hunt a bird or a flock of birds, I know what tree they're in.
Yeah.
people are like, oh, well, how do you get your birds so fast, or how do you
roost them.
yeah,
just figure it out.
I go in there and I know what tree they're on, so I can be within 40 yards of them in the morning, and they have no idea I'm there.
Right.
Not within 40 yards, but 40, 50, 60, 70 yards. I mean, you also have to take variables into consideration that, they're maybe in the wide open, and you got to be 70 yards away to get to a good spot where you can call.
Right.
But calling right off the roost, I call as little and as soft as possible. I'll do tree yelps that are so quiet that I can't feel like I can't even hear them.
Oh yeah, I know, because you kind of question yourself, like, shit, did they hear that?
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, their hearing is like 70 times better than ours, or some absurd number, But they, I'll call until they gobble back. But not continuous, I'll let out a quick set of soft tree yelps, just something to get them interested, and as soon as I get them to respond, I'll maybe call once more, as soon as I know that bird, like I let out that last yelp and that bird fires off right behind me, I'll maybe let off one more set, and this is where knowing when they fly down comes into handy. So as soon as I know that bird has heard me, say they're flying down at 5:45, at 5:40, right around then, I'm going to start doing some,
excited,
some clocks, and I'll do a fly down cackle sometimes, and if I have a decoy, I won't do much calling then at that point. They know I'm there, and they see the bird on the ground at that point. But if not, I mean, I'll start getting a little more aggressive right before that fly down time, and when they're on the ground, if you can see a bird wide open, and
do not move.
I mean,
they're gonna pick you out.
Motion. Their eyesight is incredible.
Oh, they're keen on anything.
I don't even like to call. Actually, if I see a bird, and if that bird's on a string, you can usually tell when they're.
Oh yeah,
when
they're
you got
coming.
When you got them coming, I don't even call. I put my call in the corner of my mouth, and I just sit there and wait. I mean, that bird's coming in looking at this point. There's no need to keep calling, and if he's looking that way and you call, he's gonna pinpoint right where you are.
100%. Yep.
So once I got him going, I'll put the call away, and I'll just let the bird do his thing, and hopefully not get picked off by him in the meantime, but just be patient. Don't get discouraged. I mean, a lot of people get discouraged really fast because they didn't get a bird off the roost, but noontime is a long time from the time the sun comes up. You got plenty of day to hunt.
Now, would you say all right, just like you're saying, you don't shoot a bird off the roost, birds with the hens, are you going to sit in that same spot?
I'll sit there until I know the birds are not in play anymore.
Not in play as in they don't talk to you for an hour?
I'll sit there sometimes an hour, even until I hear a gobble. I need to know that when I stand up, they're not going to be on the other side of the hill.
Them.
Yeah. Or if I walk 10 yards to my left, they're not going to be in the woods right there. If I sit there, say they fly down, right, and they're I'm watching them 50, 60, 70 yards, adrenaline's going, and all of a sudden they disappear. They go over the hill, or they go down into the woods. If I hear that bird fire off 200 yards away, and then that's when I get up and I make my move. And like I said earlier, with going back to where the birds are, knowing where they are at the certain times of day, it helps you in that perspective, because then you can get in front of them. If whether you got to drive down the road, or whether you have to walk, or whatever you have to do to get in front of those birds and be where they're going to be at that time of the day. I mean,
yeah, you always have an idea.
Exactly. So I mean, say 6:30, 7 o'clock. Those birds aren't coming in at 8 o'clock. Okay, they're almost. Usually they're at that clear cut by then, or usually they're up on top of that hill looking for acorns or whatever it may be. You can get up in there and and be ready for them. And a lot of guys kill a lot of older birds that way. A lot of birds that get killed off the roost, and I mean, I'm not gonna say 3-year-old and 4-year-old birds never get killed off the roost, because they do, but a lot of the older turkeys, they've been around.
They're going around.
Yeah, they've seen it all. They're not as I'm not gonna say dumb, but they're definitely more educated than 2-year-old
100%.
birds. But a lot of guys get those bigger birds by just being patient. If they're coming into a field,
9:30,
or even if you just know a field they're going to, or knowing where they're gonna be at a time of day. I mean, that's when you're gonna get those nice older birds. I mean, that happened to me in Mass once. I was down at my aunt's house, and it was right off the roost. Luckily, I got this bird right off the roost, but I didn't even call him in. I called a hen in. There was a hen that just did not like me being there. She was very aggravated with my she was very aggravated with my calling. And one thing I've found, I've done this I think 3 times now and called in hens, and I think 2 of the 3 I've killed birds. Tom's doing it. Mimic them. I will try to
hens,
I will
yep.
try to mimic a hen word for word what she says, and probably my best spurred mass bird, my best spurred bird in general. I mean, this thing makes any of those spurs I have over there look minuscule. I wish I should have just grabbed them off I have them just on a fan mount like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're 1.5 inches, and they're thicker than my
Crazy.
thumb.
No
they're
shit.
huge, and
Fucks.
yeah, it was an old bird. One of them was snapped, so one's like 1.5 inches and one's like 1 1/16 inch. But I mean, just the diameter of them is unreal. It's like it doesn't even look like a turkey spur, you know. Like,
Right.
it's nuts. But that bird, you know, 3-4-year-old bird, no doubt. And I only got him because I called the hen in, you know. And I've called hens in and just had conversations with them, you know. Just keep going back and
Run
forth.
back and forth.
Yeah, and that spot I was
Yeah.
referring to earlier where the pond was, where I had the bird displaying in front of me and the one come running up the road. That same spot, I was in there once, and there's a sand pit. I could see a turkey on the backside of the sand pit. And I couldn't tell if it was a male or female bird. It was kind of in the shade. So I got down in the woods, and the thing fired up, and it was a hen. And I just started talking with her, and I was like, hopefully there's a tom with her, but it never ended up happening. It was just a
Right,
hen.
yeah.
And she came walking right down the roadway. It was really cool. You know, she was pissed I was there, but it was fun. It was fun to just communicate with her, you know.
Yeah.
And I just mimicked everything she did, and she came right in, you know. She wanted to fight, you know. She was
Yeah.
that dominant hen, no doubt.
Did you guys touch on like tree calling?
Yeah, I did a little bit. Usually, like I said earlier, from the roost, I mean, I just soft and little as possible.
Okay,
Soft
yeah.
tree yelps, a little bit of, you know, clucking, but I don't go crazy. A couple purrs maybe, but
Ever mess with the gobble call like Kevin was talking about last weekend?
Uses the gobble call.
Well, he said it was because
locating.
locating
Locating.
preseason, so you're not calling to them, you know, before the season or whatever, and then dragging them.
yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I have no problem calling to a bird
Yeah,
because turkeys hear turkeys all day.
Yeah.
To locate them, I can hoot with my hands. I know
Yeah.
guys that can hoot with just their mouth and they sound awesome.
Oh yeah.
But I hoot with my hands usually if I'm trying to locate my car horn, my truck horn.
Oh yeah, those
You know,
was
Slam
drive-
the door.
I drive down the road. You know how many birds I find from just driving down the road, beeping the horn,
and they all stretch their necks out.
and sit there for a minute, and then all of a sudden, oh, the bird just gobbled up on that ridge.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll take note of all this. And you know, if I don't find a bird, you know, if I don't have a bird to hunt that morning, then that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm right at that. You know, as the sun's waking up and right before the birds fly down, I'm driving around. I'm trying to locate a bird for the next day, or for even that morning, I'll try to go in and hunt them. You know, so
Nice.
That's great.
Well, we're getting
We're about an hour in.
hour in. All right, let's go into this year's deer season.
oh
then.
boy, this year's deer season was. It
What was
was
that like?
How many deer
was-
did you shoot this year?
What's that?
How many deer did you
All
shoot
of
this
them.
year?
A lot. I got 8 in Mass, 4 in New Hampshire. And
How
one
many in Mass?
8.
Holy
And then I got
smokes.
4 in New Hampshire and 1 in
Yeah,
Pennsylvania.
what do they give you? They give you doe tags. You just keep purchasing
Mass
doe tags
is
and Mass.
it's pretty. It's as close as you can get to unlimited without the statement unlimited. You know,
Yeah.
you can buy a doe tag a day when the surplus ones go on sale, and they're $5 a piece. So I
When
mean,
you say surplus, sounds like you're shopping at goddamn CS.
yeah,
or something.
yeah, it really is.
Oh, this doe tag's on surplus. I want to pick
come
up
get
one.
'em.
Yeah, it's you know, all out like the more populated zones. I'm not going to disclose that in case anyone's listening. But the more populated zones, they give out obviously more surplus tags. It's nothing, you know, every day you go you see deer, and it's not like anybody can just go out there and do that. But if you have experience in the woods, if you have woodsmanship,
Yeah.
I mean, that's another big thing with turkey hunting, woodsmanship. I mean, you have to have the ability to, you know, shoot offhand and, you know, be still and quiet in the woods. I mean, same with deer hunting.
We should have touched on that. is-
pattern in your gun and what?
no, just being still. It's
Yeah,
like when you sometimes there could be 60 yards, 100 yards out, you hear a gobble. That could be the last gobble that you hear.
Yeah,
you need to
they
be
can come
ready.
in very quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, those 2-year-old birds, a lot of the times they come in quiet because
Very.
they don't want to be. If there's an older bird, they know what the punishment's going
Right.
to be.
You're
if
gonna get hit
they
with
come,
the
so
ass whoop.
they'll come in quiet a lot of the times. Not all the time. Sometimes they roar. I mean,
Yeah.
with anything. But I mean, just having woodsmanship and just having knowing knowledge and being, able to sit still and be quiet and not move and being able to be part of the element in the woods. I mean, that's huge. I mean,
Right.
that's a lot of turkey hunting too.
Stellar.
So that's something for people that are beginners. They should really, work on. Even if you just go sit in your backyard with your shotgun on your knee, just go practice it, because people are going to say, "Oh, how hard is it to throw your shotgun on your knee and sit there for a half hour?" Go do
Yeah,
it.
it sucks.
Go do it. It sucks. Absolutely. I mean,
Mosquitoes will bite you in the forehead.
yeah, exactly. It's gonna condition you, and like I love bear season for that reason in New Hampshire, because once bear season, once archery season gets going in New Hampshire, I usually get 3-4 bear sits under my belt at that point. So, all the fidgeting and not being able to move.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I get
that's
that.
all.
I work those
You're
bugs
out.
out, and turkey season helps with that too. I mean, the first couple of days, obviously.
Kevin mentioned that on the last podcast.
Yeah.
was just,
It's like getting
sitting-
into stand shape, he called it.
Yeah,
stand
it's
shape.
true. It really is. It's something that's 100% true, and it's something that should be practiced. It's kind of like an unwritten rule, but you need to have that if you want to be successful at turkeys. You have to have good woodsmanship.
Right.
100%.
And just to make it clear, if anybody is listening that didn't know already, that turkeys don't have a great sense of smell.
No.
So
you
wear all the bug spray you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Wear all the bug spray you want. They have great hearing and great eyesight. That's where they thrive. They're predators. I mean they're prey. They have so many predators: foxes, bobcats, hawks, owls. I mean they constantly are on alert. So it's not like when you spook a turkey, it's not like, oh my god, that's a human. It's a predator. That's all they see is it something that's not right to them. So they coyotes, foxes, they're always preying on turkeys. 3-4 years ago, I was deer hunting, and I had this coyote walk right up to me, and I drew back on him, and I was just about ready to shoot him, and there was just one little small pine in the way, and he saw me draw, and he bolted, and about 10 minutes later, here he comes back, running right back by me with a turkey poult in his mouth, and I was watching the turkeys feed right next to me, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, I should have shot through that tree just trying to deter him,
Yeah.
So anyways, the coyote ran by with the poult in his mouth. I got a video of it on my phone, and he took off, and then I want to say like a half hour later, 5 deer come walking by, and I ended up I shot a doe out of the group. So it was a big doe, 144-pound
Think of the
doe.
odds of that. You're seeing turkey, coyote, and deer.
Yeah, no, that's like
Where
good
even
spot.
am I?
yeah. Actually, Kevin helped me pull a deer out of that piece of woods this year. So Kevin's a great kid. I had a bad, referring back to deer season, I had a really bad run of luck. I shot a huge buck this year, never recovered it. And then 2 days later, I shot a doe, never recovered it. And then it was like the next day or then 2 days after that.
It's all archery?
Yeah, this is all archery. I shot another doe, and I was using my crossbow, and I watched my bolt hit her right behind the shoulder. I'm like, man, that was a perfect shot. I'm like, how is that deer not dead? And Kevin's like, he's like, I can come down right now. I'm like, I think time's in our favor, because I walked to the edge of the swamp where I shot. I heard her get up, and so I was like, I know it's a far drive for you, Kevin. It's about 40 minutes. I'm like, can you meet me, at midnight? He's like, yeah, no problem. So we went in there at midnight, and she was right there dead.
No problem.
Yeah,
That's your friend.
yeah, exactly. He was, and he dragged the thing. He helped me drag it, and he took a couple great pictures for me, and it was good bonding time with him.
Yeah.
He was super good dude. We both brought our deer down to the taxidermist. The buck he got this year and the buck I got, we both brought our deer down to the same taxidermist in Connecticut this year. So
Connecticut.
yeah, we go to Dave Berger. It's Wild Arts Taxidermy. His work is outstanding.
You guys brought a lot of deer down there, didn't you?
Neil Pendleton brought, I think, because we're all friends, me, Kevin, and Neil. I think Neil brought 5. I brought 1. Kevin brought 1. A couple other friends.
5.
Yeah, my
Bucks,
buddy.
yeah, they got a picture on Instagram.
You should see my
on the
5
bed.
deer I
Yeah.
shot this year.
My buddy Ryan. My buddy Ryan. He brought a nice Boone and I think it was. No, Pope and Young. I'm sorry. It was Pope and Young velvet deer. He got like the second or third day of New Hampshire archery season.
Yeah,
Beautiful
I've
buck.
seen that deer.
Yeah,
It's
he's
like
just-
perfectly.
Yeah,
Perfect.
perfect
Everything
symmetrical.
was fucking perfect.
Coyotes got to it a little bit, but he got the important part of it. You
Yeah.
know, he's.
That was what.
It was like the third day of bow season
I
or
was
something
gonna
like that.
say,
It was super
full
early.
velvet-
Yeah, he
full
called me that
velvet.
night, and he was like, "Dude, I shot a monster tonight." And he's like, I'm gonna go back in the morning and look for it. And I got when my phone went off, and I see a text from Ryan Brose, and I see a picture in the icon. I'm like, "Oh, nice." I'm like, "Sweet,
got one.
yeah." It was
good deal.
and he brought that there. He wanted to get it scored first, so he could get Pope and Young with it before he brought it down there. But definitely,
You guys give him some business down there.
it's not even taxidermy at that point. It's art. His showroom is just like all African game, and every piece in there, tells a story. He's got like a leopard up on a tree limb with a impala in its mouth and hyenas underneath it, like 3 or 4 hyenas.
Shit.
His
That's
work
incredible.
it's art. It's not, and I was referred to him by a couple people, and he, his work is just outstanding. It's one of a kind. It's art.
It's a poke down there.
Yeah, but it's worth it, and it's not like he's the same price as everybody around here. So if you're willing to make the, for me it's a 2-hour drive. For you guys, it's probably like a 3.5 hour drive.
Right.
But if you're willing to make that drive, I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about any
2 hours
taxidermist.
isn't that far. Like,
No, and I mean, there's great taxidermists in this state
No,
too.
you like
but
who you like.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he's incredible for what he does for work, and I've seen other work he's done with turkeys and ducks and stuff like that too, and it's really good quality. It tells a story when you look at the
Right,
mounts.
yeah.
So
That's
hopefully
good.
get mine back sooner than later. But I understand taxidermy is a
Yeah,
process.
oh, yeah.
I'm anxious
Oh,
though. So
Might be a couple
There's
years.
there's a guy in the area that's just booked with 2018 deer.
oh no kidding.
Yeah.
Where
huh?
Nick
Still.
brought his,
Yeah.
Bill Murtaugh.
Wow.
Freaking
That's-
year and a half, you'll get your deer
That's a
back.
long time.
Yeah.
I would be too anxious.
He
I would-
stays busy though.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a dying breed too.
And I'm
I
pretty
mean,
sure that's
Yeah.
all
I
that's
would
all he
like
does is
to-
deer.
I got too much shit going on.
Yeah.
I gotta stop. Just stop. I like to dabble in everything.
Yeah,
I like,
yeah.
I like
Let me
turkey
try it out.
fans. I like doing mounts. You buy the mount kit
Right.
from taxidermist sites and stuff like that.
Or you
Like
could just build one.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly,
I used to
just like
make
that.
my own. Obviously, that
Yeah.
didn't look
I
the
made that
greatest.
one.
I was younger when it came to that, but
Right.
like now, just to the point where you could buy the kits and they turn out like that.
Right,
so
yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
I wish I had the money. It was, of course, the year I shoot the bird like that, and to get it done by like a good reputable taxidermist would have
Oh,
been.
to get like
$70, $80.
No, to do
Oh,
the full
real.
mount.
Oh,
It would've
the
been
full
like, It
mount.
would have been
Yeah,
like
yeah.
$1,000, $1,200.
Holy
yeah.
smokes.
Like literally the week before I just moved out of my parents' house, I bought like $4,000 or $5,000 in furniture. I just moved into my first place, and I
Yeah.
was like, of course, I'm like, this is when it happened. So I ended up just doing that fan mount, but
How do you dry your
borax.
borax?
Yeah, I don't even keep them anymore.
Do you know what do you know the trick I found out? You
The-
buy
hot
a-
tip.
the
Hot tip.
the shirt hanger. You
No.
take the clips on the.
No, so yeah, I hit it with borax.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple things I do, but the biggest thing I do, you go buy a cheap dehydrator.
Yeah,
And you just stick them in the dehydrator.
and it dries it right out.
Yeah, you obviously
like
you
2 days.
You
Yeah.
pin them up on a piece of cardboard,
Right.
and I cut where the meat has to dry
Right.
out, and I just stick it in there for a couple days, and it dries
no,
right
it's
out.
2 days.
Yeah,
I've
it's
done-
literally you can dry it out to
I've
like a
done-
rock. I've
We
done
don't have all the fans.
probably
here,
the
but
past 3
yeah,
of mine.
that fan is. I don't know. Did I do that fan? I left
I
that
don't
fan
know.
on my
That-
dashboard.
Yeah,
I did that on my dashboard.
That must have smelled real good.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that fan and
Nick's fan. I
Nick's
did a couple
boys
fans.
and Nick's
yeah.
it, like in a dehydrator. Throw the cap on. Two
perfect.
2
That's
days. It's ready to roll.
Good tip for the
Yeah.
beginners. If
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
shoot a bird and you don't want to get it full mounted.
Yeah, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of people that they want to like. I've been asked like, hey, how do you do it by yourself? And it's just like you did. I start out. I wouldn't do it in salt.
Yeah.
Salt keeps that moisture right
Yeah.
to it. You can tell it takes forever.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, borax.
Yeah.
Yep. Go to Walmart. Go in the detergent section.
$3
where
for a
anyone
bottom
can't
shelf.
find
Yeah.
because
Bottom
no one
shelf
can find
detergent
borax. Go into the detergent
section.
section. Yeah.
It's $3 for a box that
box,
you'll
a
never
huge
use all
box.
of it in
Yeah.
your lifetime.
Right.
On turkey fans, anyways. But
Yeah.
it's that's what I do with all the beards that I have on that beard display.
Yeah. That's what I usually put them in a bag of borax.
yeah,
something
and
sucks moisture right out.
yeah,
of it.
and not just leave the feet like he said. I put the feet up on my dashboard. And
Yeah.
I just let them dry. It's not
Yeah.
like they smell. I mean, if they do, it's.
I see
hardly
you
anything.
shave the skin off all your spurs.
Yeah, I did. Some guys bleach them. I don't. I like the natural look. I mean, it's not. Most people aren't looking at the bone that the spur is connected to. They're
Yeah.
looking at the spur itself. The spur cap, I should say. But it's I take
Spur
the
cap.
Yeah.
Never even heard of that.
Yeah, I just take the peel the
The skin off.
the skin off and then just put them on there, and that's how they look. Actually, those caps, a few of them when I cut the above and below the spur on the foot, the cap itself is slid right off, and I had to super glue them back on
Yeah.
there.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'll show you after. But sweet deal, man. I don't know. We're wrapping up on time here.
Where are we at?
I don't know. Probably got an hour and 20.
Yeah.
You got a long ride home.
yeah, it's not too bad. It's hour and 45 minutes, but
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
no,
This
thank
has
you
been
for having me,
awesome.
guys.
We
It was
love-
awesome. I had a blast.
Yeah, we
Really
love
good
having
time.
guys up here in New Hampshire give out tips to people and
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely.
and-
I hope at least one person can take one thing away from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do like one more hot turkey tip. Since it's coming up. What would be your biggest
Scout.
Your biggest tip?
Scout.
Who's your scout?
If you don't, if you put your time in, you're gonna kill a turkey. If you take,
what time of year should the people be looking?
I'm a diehard, so I start April 1st. But if you're just hunting New Hampshire, if you're just looking to kill your first bird, 2 weeks before the season, a week before the season. I mean, a week before the season, you're gonna start to see a lot more guys out there.
Yeah.
So like with me, my spots, I'm pretty much left alone where I do hunt. Except for my buddy Jake, who found it too, but but usually you can see like where guys are going to be as well. You're going to see guys pulled over on the side of the road that first light in the morning, or
people that are
turkey hunting. Yeah, you're going to see where a lot of guys are going to be, and it kind of gives you an idea of where you're not going to want to be opening day.
Right.
Put your time in. It's just like deer hunting. You put your time in, you're going to be rewarded. The more you scout, the better off you're going to be.
Yep.
And be patient. Don't get discouraged. I mean, that's persistence is a lot of it. You get discouraged, it's never going to happen. So
what's the biggest thing you probably run into that, I don't know, what's your downfall? Even though you've been very successful, you shoot birds every year, do you have a downfall when it comes to turkey?
I'm trying to think of my weakness.
Do you? Yeah.
Not enough time off from work, obviously.
Oh, that's everyone's. That's everyone's.
Just quit.
Yeah, no, I wish I could do this full time. Honestly, I think maybe my calling, but I still think my calling it's better than subpar. It's good, but I mean I would like to learn how to use a slate call.
Kiki run.
Yeah, Kiki run. I'm not. I've been working on it, but it's not something. It's not one of my strong points. But I'm not a big fall hunter. But I mean, birds Kiki call in the spring. I've heard it.
Yeah, me too.
They do it.
Tom's yelp.
Yeah, I mean they do it. It's amazing. People think it's that's just a fall call. It's assembly call. The Kiki call.
I've heard it definitely.
It's just a flocking call.
It's all it is. And I one time there was a hen that she came walking behind me on the edge of a field, and she was Kiki and then yelping. Like it would be like Kiki 2 yelps, Kiki yelp, Kiki 3 yelps, and it was like she was letting the toms that were behind her know it was okay, and the toms
crazy.
They came over, but they were just out of range. I couldn't get a shot at them. But
they send that hen out as a scout.
Yeah, but any time like that scenario though, you learn from that. You're like,
absolutely.
Look, you can see what they're doing.
Yeah.
And just because like for new hunters, if you go out there and just because you don't shoot a turkey that year, you're gonna learn a wealth of knowledge. I mean, you're gonna learn a lot along the way.
You're gonna see a lot of shit that you would never see.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Guys are like, oh well, what if it's raining out? What if it's windy out? What if it's what if it's cold? You're not gonna kill them from the couch.
That's when you go out.
Yeah, you got to get out there. You're gonna be the only one out there. Like there was a couple times this year, deer season, second week of shotgun, rifle for you guys, but shotgun down my way. It was pouring rain. Like 35 degrees out. It was miserable.
No, I remember that.
And I still went out. And it's like I didn't see anything that night. But I'm not going to kill one from the couch
right.
either.
Could have happened.
Yeah, exactly. And, and if it's raining, windy out, like openings, fields, logging roads, cuts, those are the places you're going to want to be. You're not going to want to be in hard timber trying to call birds.
They're picking fiels in the rain or just after rain.
Right, because like I said earlier, they're prey. They're if you go to a field, they can see and they can hear. And they're not going to have their sense of hearing as well, but. They're going to be able to see for quite a way in a field or a cut or an opening, so that's a good starting point always when there's, bad weather.
Right.
That's always where I start if it is bad weather. And it is really cool to see a turkey's feathers, all the water fall off when you shoot them. You see all the water. Yeah, it's really cool. You see the big splash behind them. That's quite the sight to see in itself.
Nice.
So
good deal.
Yep.
All right. Well, where can people find you on social media if they wanted to follow you?
So
follow your stories around.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. My name's Steve Champa, CHAMPA. I'm on Instagram. It's New Hampshire _beards_ bucks _ and ducks. So
I read that one a couple times last night.
Yeah.
Like, hold on.
Yeah, it's my lifestyle all in one. Deer hunting, turkey hunting, and waterfowl hunting. So
and Hunt the East. He's got a Hunt the East sweatshirt on.
Absolutely. This is my buddy Ryan I was referring to earlier. He's I believe he has a website for it. If not, he's on Facebook. He's got some apparel for sale. Check him out. He's a good guy.
We're gonna try to put this video up on YouTube. I don't know how it's gonna come out. It's probably gonna take a day to export. It's gonna be a freaking
huge
hour.
file.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, this is awesome. We'd love to have you on again.
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't get to finish your deer story, so we're gonna have you back on before
duck hunting and deer.
Absolutely.
I ain't duck hunting.
Duck hunting.
It's all right. Turkey
All right.
season's next. Let's get everyone
Yeah,
pumped
no,
up for
absolutely.
turkey, but
Turkey season. Let's get excited for it. Everybody be safe.
We'll come back
this
on.
summer,
Yeah.
this summer, man.
Be safe
But,
out there and have a good season. Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully see a lot of dead Tommies up on
Yeah.
Facebook
We're gonna
and
keep everybody
Instagram.
posted.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you so much for having me, guys.
All
Yeah,
right, thank you.
anytime,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Let's
appreciate it.
do it.
Thank you.